So many thanks and welcome to the DUP Finance Week, this time with a special guest. Allow me a few words in advance. Buy what you know, that seems only a natural thing, but many investors buy flats they have never seen or companies they don't understand. And Jim Rogers has always made the point of go there, have a look, understand. And he traveled the world once per motorbike, once per car. And as far as I remember, by the way, both times with a German brand. Anyhow, why? To understand, to get a better grasp of what to invest in. Commodities, for example. He was one of the first to predict a super cycle of commodities. And now he's with us. Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here. Yes, I went around the world on a BMW motorcycle, a BMW, and a Mercedes car. So okay. Germany took me around the world twice.
That's a good story to hear. Well, let's get started with the interview. I read in a recent interview, you said it's a good time to be old. What's this thing makes you so, say, worried or irritated, to say it polite?
Well, I'm an American citizen, and America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, but they are adding staggering amounts of debt every week. It's astonishing how much money they're printing, borrowing, spending. So, and every country in world history that's gotten into this kind of shape has had a problem, a serious problem, a crisis or a semi-crisis at least. So I know I'm not going to have to pay for all of this, but I have teenage children, in their lifetime, they're going to have many serious problems. History is very clear. The countries that do this wind up having a problem. So my children are going to have a much worse problem than I am. I get the benefit of all the money being spent. My children have to pay.
That doesn't sound like a very fair deal. So is the inflation, I think we saw in America, something about 5%. Will that last or perhaps even get higher?
Well, again, history shows that when countries, or especially when the whole world prints a lot of money, it eventually leads to higher prices and inflation. Not the next day, and it's not even straight up. It goes up in cycle, up, down. But basically the trend now is for higher prices all over the world, nearly all over the world.
If we speak about investing, one always hears these days the coined phrase Tina, there's no alternative to stocks. Is that simple?
Well, as I look around the world, I see bonds have never been this high. So bonds are a bubble. I would not invest in bonds. Property in many countries, many cities is becoming a bubble. If you go to Korea or New Zealand, lots of places, property is clearly a bubble. If you look at stocks are beginning to form a bubble. I mean, Amazon goes up every day, 10 cents. Samsung, some of these stocks are beginning to form bubbles, not everything yet. So there is an alternative. The cheapest asset class that I see, Arne, is commodities. I mean, silver is down 50% from its all-time high. Yeah. Sugar is down 70% from its all-time high. Oil is down 50% from its all-time high. So commodities are an alternative, and they're certainly much cheaper than every other asset class.
So we are back again to the super cycle in a way, I think 30 years ago.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a super cycle. I mean, who knows? I don't have to know that. I do know that commodities are cheap. And I certainly know that when there's a lot of money printing, it usually makes real assets go higher, whether the real assets are silver or sugar or wheat or whatever it is, real things go up in price.
Have you any thoughts about private equity or hedge funds? Would that be worth a closer look these days?
Well, yeah, if you can find the right thing. The situation there, of course, is gigantic amounts of money have gone into private equity, and those are not cheap. They're like stocks. Yeah. Nearly everything. If you can spell private equity now, somebody will give you money. And everything is getting very, very high valuations. And if you find the right people or the right idea who can do it, sure, but be very, very careful.
What about gold? You mentioned commodities. Many people these days say, well, gold could be the safe haven, a kind of insurance policy. Should everything go belly up? Would you agree on that? Is it a safe haven or Is it more?
First of all, please do not use the word safe when you're talking about investing, no matter what. I have never heard of anything that's safe. Some things may be less worrisome than others. I would prefer silver than gold. I own both. I'm not buying either right now, but if they go down some more, I'll probably buy more, but I'll buy more silver than gold. Silver is cheaper on a historic basis, but I own both, Arne, and I will buy more at the right price and the right time.
Looking back, what are the three most important lessons you learned in your investment career? If I know it's a very general question, nonetheless, if you could give a try.
Well, I think the first lesson is you must watch Business Talk to learn what's going on. It's a German program. If you watch Business Talk, Arne will teach you what's happening. Other things is, the most important is do not invest unless you yourself know a lot about what you're doing. Arne, everybody wants to be rich this week. Well, I want to be rich this week too. Everybody wants a hot tip. But I will tell you that hot tips will ruin you, absolutely ruin you. Do not invest in anything unless you yourself know a lot about it. Now, everybody watching this knows a lot about something, whether it's cars or fashion or whatever. When something comes along that you know a lot about, because that's what your passion is, do some research and buy the stock, and you will probably make a lot of money. If I told you you only have 20 investments in your life, you would be very, very careful, but you would also be very, very successful and very, very rich someday. Now, you might say, oh, that's boring. Be boring. If you want to be rich and you want to be successful, be boring. Don't be looking to jump in and out every day, every week, every month. Do not listen to hot tips.
It doesn't help these days. There's so much hubbub going on, all these, the next hot thing, be it cryptocurrencies. So I think I can understand every investor who says, I need to buy this or that. Can you relate to that? It's very tempting to try to join
This is a sort of, I mean, I've seen this movie before. It's the sort of thing that happens at the end of all long bull markets. Lots of new people come into the market, new investment ways. They all tell their friends how easy it is, how much fun it is, and you should do it too. Crazy things, they invest in crazy things. Prices go higher and higher all the time. It's not my first time I've seen this. I'm not selling out now, but I can see the signs are developing that we're coming towards the end of the bull market in the United States has been going up for 12 years. It's the longest in American history. I don't know if it's ending yet. I don't think so, but we're certainly not at the beginning, Arne. So I would be extremely worried if I were any investor, certainly a new investor.
You were, as I said, one of the first to spot the super cycle of commodities. Do you see anything comparable or similar these days, even on a smaller scale?
Well, yes. I mean, agriculture is a disaster. Agriculture has been a disaster for 20 or 30 years. You know, the average age of farmers in America is 58. In Japan, it's 68. You know, and the highest rate of suicide in the UK is in agriculture. More people study public relations in America than study agriculture. Agriculture is a disaster. And I suspect nobody you went to school with became a farmer. Well, that's true all over the world. And yes, I see a safe thing.
Finally, we got one.
In agriculture. Do you know how to drive a tractor, Arne?
No, but should learn, I guess.
Everybody should learn to drive a tractor because agriculture is going to be terrific.
Yeah. Do you think it's easy to invest for Joe average investor?
Well, I want to repeat again, don't invest in anything that you don't know about. If you don't know what cotton is, please do not invest in cotton or wheat or maize or something like that. Only invest in what you know a lot about. And if you say, you know, maybe he's right, then do some research, do your own research. And if you come to the same conclusion, then you can make investments. But don't do it because I do it. No. That's a terrible way to invest.
Perhaps let me ask another question. What is the worst mistake an investor can do these days? Is it just buying for everybody else is buying? Just to keep up the discussion?
Yes, exactly. Jumping into the crowd, jumping on hot tips, doing what you hear in the bar. You go down to the bar and you hear somebody say, oh, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you. You know, you should run away as fast as you can.
Just one last question.
The other worst thing yet, and the terrible words that I'm sure you know aren't, is when they say to you, this time it is different. Those are very, very dangerous words. And they will say, this time it is different. And Arne, it is not different. Be worried and leave the room.
Yeah, all the alarm lights are flashing then. Perhaps one last question, bit off the beaten track. What if the Fed calls you and says, Jim, we would like your advice? What would it be?
I would say, well, you should abolish the Fed and resign.
That bad?
America's I'll use America. America's had 3 central banks in our history. We've only been around a couple of 100 years, but we've had 3 central banks, 250 years, say. The first 2 disappeared for many reasons. This one is making many, many, many mistakes. So I would suspect that this one too will disappear because the mistakes are so huge. The amount of money printing, the amount of debt, the amount of everything that they are doing has never been done in world history, never. And they say, don't worry, we know what we're doing now. It's different, we know. So they all went to Ivy League schools, they have good educations. I would be very, very, very worried because they don't know what they're doing. They're going to cause huge problems in the world. And I don't know if they'll be abolished or not, but there are going to be so many problems that politicians like to blame somebody whenever there's a big problem. Well, the Federal Reserve may be the ones, the central bank may be the ones that they blame.
Do you see any central bank worldwide who isn't doing such a bad job?
Well, the Chinese are doing a less bad job. I mean, in China, they still have interest rates. They've been spending a lot, but nothing like in the UK or Japan or America or some places. The Chinese have done a less bad job. I don't know anybody else at the moment. I mean, the guy in Japan is just terrifying. He goes to work every morning like a good Japanese bureaucrat, goes early, prints money as fast as he can. He says, his word is unlimited. That's what he says, unlimited amounts of money. And he puts it to work in the markets. I mean, this has got to wind up. I mean, Japan's got many, many problems. And Japan is in a serious downtrend, if you ask me. And Japan's going to have, but we all are. I mean, everybody. Nearly everybody is doing this. I mean, North Korea is not doing it. They would if they could, but they cannot. Cuba would if they could, but most places cannot. But many people are working on printing more money, spending more money. It's good to be old. It's a good time to be old, Arne. Because when these problems come, and they will come again, despite what the American Central Bank, when they come, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime. In 2008, we had a big problem because there was too much debt everywhere in the world. Arne, since 2008, the debt, oh my gosh, has skyrocketed everywhere. Even China has debt now. China didn't have debt in 2008 or had very little. Everybody has huge amounts of debt now. So the next time we have a problem, it's going to be the worst in my life. It has to be, just because there's so much debt now.
The numbers add up and up, add up and up and up. So yes.
On even in Germany, I mean, there are German cities now that have too much. When I was a kid, nobody was sounder than Germany and the Bundesbank, maybe the Swiss and the Germans. And the Dutch and the Austrians. But no, everybody, they were very, very sound. But now there's cities in Germany which are in trouble because of too much debt. I mean, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Germany? No, it could not. Well,
Yeah.
it is. It has. It's
Unfortunately,
happening.
yes.
I know. It's unbelievable to me.
This is not uplifting, to put it like that, but nonetheless, it's a true word. No more questions, Jim. I think, once again, many thanks for your time and sharing your thoughts with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm a fan of Germany, etc. So let's do it again sometime. Okay.
I'd like to hear that. I'll come back to that. Many thanks, Jim, and stay healthy.
Very good.